Hi there, it's Mr. Clark. Welcome to lesson 11.4.3 on chromatic pivot chord modulation. So sometimes a pivot chord might not be diatonic to one or both of the keys that it's moving between, which is a little bit funky. Instead, it could be a chromatic chord of one of the types that we previously discussed. So here's an example from Schubert from his last song cycle. So we're pretty happily in E flat major at the beginning. Then I don't have that key on my piano. I'll play it octave. So we tonic size 5, and we're back at 1. Okay, so that sounds like a 5/7 of 2. We expect it to go to 2, and instead it goes here. Whoa! That whoa was me playing the right notes and expressing surprise at where we ended up. Okay, so we started in E flat, we went to A flat. Not a super weird thing to do, those are closely related keys, but let's look at how we got there. So we were happily in E flat, and then we expect to go from C7, we expect to go to F minor. But instead we end up in A flat somehow. So let's look at this next chord. Well, that's a D flat chord. That's 4 in the key of A flat. Okay, so we got to back up one to find the pivot chord, and well, it's this chord. So we thought it was a 5/7 of 2 going to F, but in the key of A flat it would also make sense. That would be a 5/7 of 6. Then, so that still makes sense. So we have a 5/7 of 6, but then it doesn't resolve to 6. It resolves to 4. But if we think about it, okay, so a C7, we expect it to resolve to F, but it could deceptively resolve up a step. It could deceptively resolve up to D, could also deceptively resolve up to flat 6 in its relative key. In the key of F, flat 6 would be D flat major. So that's what's going on here. We use it as a pivot chord, and then it resolves deceptively in the new key. And then pretty clear cadence at the end there. So that's a pretty funky sort of thing going on. You can also use a mixture chord as a pivot chord. Another example from Beethoven, where we start in D flat. Pretty clear. Ooh. Okay, so the funkiness happened here, because we had a phrase in D flat that was all pretty straightforward, and all we did was modal mixture, turn that 1 into a minor 1. Then so we look at our next chord. Well, that doesn't make sense in D flat. That's clearly a 5 in E. So we back up one chord to find our pivot chord, and it's this modal mixture chord. The minor 1, the modal mixture, has become a normal minor 6 in the key of E that then resolves to 5 and cadences on 1. Finally, the last example we're going to look at is using the Neapolitan as a pivot chord. All of the chromatic chords that we've looked at are now eligible to be pivot chords as well. So here's another example from Schubert's last song cycle. And that's where it kind of wants to go. So this is pretty funky. D to A flat, we've modulated a tritone. Can't do that with normal pivot chords. So pretty normal in the key of D. We're back in D at this point. And then we go to our Neapolitan. But something's weird about this Neapolitan. It is in first inversion, but we've added a dominant 7. Normally, our Neapolitan is just a triad. But we are now treating this as 5 in the key of A flat minor. So adding that dominant 7 really makes the modulation more convincing, especially since we just end on a regular half cadence. Without that, where it's a little more unexpected where we go. That's a clear marker of where we're going. So that's what's going on here. All chromatic chords are now fair game to become pivot chords. See you next time.